Welcome back to What's Really Happening in Southern Utah. In studio today I have Dave Harris and Paul Monroe, and we're talking about water and what's happening with it in Iron County specifically. Paul, earlier on this segment you mentioned the Pine Valley Water Project. Let's kind of go through the details of what that looks like and what consumers in the Iron County area can look forward to in the future.
Yeah, so as far as a consumer themselves, as we look at all solutions and all sources of water that's available, they're all pretty expensive. We look at reusing our wastewater and bringing that back up into drink water. You know, that's just as expensive as some of these other sources. And conservation itself is not cheap either. You know, if we were to remove turf and put in other landscape, more, water smart landscape, that's 3 times more expensive than this imported water we're talking about from Pine Valley. So all of those are expensive right out the gate, just so you're kind of on the same level there of what we know, what the alternatives are. But this project, if we were to take a look today at the 20,000 households that are here in Cedar Valley, and we were to just burden them, not consider any of the new growth that will happen over the next decade, and we were to say, okay, these folks that are here are going to pay for this project, it would be about a $50 a month increase to their monthly bill. So it's kind of expensive, but at the same time it's very doable. Considering too how low our rates are, we all pay about $30, $40 a month for our water bills, and if you look at other areas, most areas in the West are paying significantly higher rates for their water, and so and you consider most people are paying over $100 for their internet or their TV subscription or whatever it is, The
luxuries of life.
Right, the luxuries of life.
And so is water turning into a luxury?
Water is a life-sustaining, a life-needed a source, right? Yeah, it seems like it sometimes.
So logistically, I know that the developments that have been announced, like Port 15, as I mentioned earlier, that's happening out west of town, and the Pine Valley Water Project is coming in from the Wawa Valley that's just to the west of Milford, well, and a little south. But how are we getting water from there to Cedar City, which is like 50 miles away?
Yeah, roughly about that. Yeah, actually, so within the Wawa Valley, part of our settlement with Beaver County is that we gave them water to use in Wawa, and our rights we're going to be using are in Pine Valley, which is in another valley further to the west. But it'll come down through Pine Valley and follow all county roadways from Pine Valley Road, near Lund, and there's just one small section. So it's like 99% in county roadways all the way through. It comes in from the Antelope Road and Avon Road and through the Iron Springs Gap. So where the Iron Springs Resort is, that Iron Springs Road, it'll come in right there, actually right past Port 15, and connect into one of Cedar City's main transmission lines at the Y.
Right.
And then our water line is right there as well, and we're already connected to Enoch City on the north end. So we've got lines that go north and south in the valley that can distribute that water as soon as it gets to the Y.
And what are we looking like? Is this going to happen like tomorrow, or are we looking into that 12, 15, or 20-year marker out? When can we be expecting to see those developments happen?
So we are right now in the environmental process, and we hope to have a record of decision from the BLM that would give us that green light to proceed as soon as December. But there's still a lot of things that need to happen between now and then. We need to finalize engineering, finalize right-of-ways, things like that. And so we're looking still at probably 5 to 8 years at the earliest that it could be here.
Okay.
And then there's also kind of the financial side of it where, we need to continue to put some money away towards it. And then there'll eventually be a vote within our community to pull the trigger and to build this project.
So, and just a quick recap, with the Pine Valley water that's coming to Iron County from Beaver County, this has been going on over the last 20 years, basically. It's a long project. There's a lot of steps in it, and now it's up for public comment, correct?
Yeah, so that just closed last week, actually.
Excuse me, last week.
Yeah.
But then you go through the environmental studies and then the final approvals and different things. There's already a lot of money invested in making sure that this is a sustainable source of water or whether it's not. I mean, that's why we have to do studies all the time on all the different things, especially with the different cities, municipalities, counties, and everything that's going to be eventually feeding off of this water source. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a long-term process, and I really like that word because that's really what it is and what it's been is a process. And we're in it for the long haul. You know, we've the water rights settlement we talked about in an earlier segment. You know, that was a long process, and we saw it through. And this environmental side, it's a process as well. There's a lot of outside environmentalists that are you know, don't like the idea of the project of us bringing water into where the people are. But that's been a long-standing goal and objective of the West. You look at all the West, and that's what we've always done, is we've brought water to where the people are. So that's going to be a process of you know, they'll likely sue, and there'll probably be litigation over that. But we've spent a lot of time, resources up front to make sure that we've looked at everything, and we feel like we'll be successful in that as well.
Dave, I was going to say, what's Enoch most excited about this project for?
I think that Enoch, the biggest issue Enoch has been dealing with is our water sources. We have enough water shares and rights to be able to supply our citizens, but the thing we've struggled with most is probably getting enough water out of the ground, enough straws in the ground to pull the water out. And over some summers, we have started to show some. Our tanks have been low. We've been worried a little bit about fire flow and our ability to fight fires should something happen. And we've been able to manage those pretty well. But as we continue to grow, those problems will just be compounded. And so we're looking at more sources to draw water from. And so we're excited that the Pine Valley Project could provide another source of water for us in Enoch to draw from and to provide good water for our citizens. But as Paul mentioned, it has its detractors. In some in Beaver County, some environmentalists, they've attacked the project both from a financial perspective and from an environmental perspective. But I think in both cases, if we look at the facts, we'll find that this is it's already been looked at as a very good project from an environmental standpoint. And from a financial standpoint, it's a very affordable and very doable project, despite the fact that they some have put out information that would suggest that it wouldn't be affordable. But
Well,
I think that it will be.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, all of us want water, right? Like, it's one of those, you know, life-sustaining things, like water. And I mean, you can survive on rice and beans. At least somebody has told me that.
If you have water to go with those.
But you have to have water to hydrate them.
Yeah.
And I think regardless of how it necessarily comes to fruition, all of us want the same thing. We all want to be able to live and survive and to be able to continue our lifestyles without any necessarily hardships within that. Now, I will tell you that I love my green grass. So if somebody told me that I had to rip it out and put rocks, I would not be happy. Well, you know, regardless. But so in our final few moments, what else do people need to know about, I mean, specifically the Pine Valley Water Project, and where can we come if we do have concerns, or who do we speak to?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have an open dialogue on our website. Anybody can log on to our website and click on some of our links that are there to provide comment and to ask about these questions. We also have, you know, frequently asked questions that are on there that they can learn more about the project and its potential impacts, both environmentally and economically. And so all of that is listed there. And we hope that we do get a lot of people that will learn about it, become educated about it, because like Dave said, the more you learn and the more you know about it, you know, the better not only are you knowledgeable, but you can share that information of how this project does look sound and reasonable.
David, are there any final thoughts over here?
It's something that you know, when I first came on the board, I was familiar with Enoch City's water, but I have learned a great deal about water, the history of water. Someone that I knew always said that throughout the history of the West, there have been more people that shot and killed over water than gold or any other, whatever you see in the movies. Water is one of our most valuable resources and commodities. And I've learned a great deal about it, and I'm excited about being a part of this project and securing what I think will be water for Iron County for the almost in perpetuity, but the certainly will go beyond my lifetime. I'm excited to help secure that for Iron County.
Thank you so much for joining us with What's Really Happening in Southern Utah. I'm your host, McKennan Hansen.